In today's lecture, we will cover this topic, that is, what are the decision properties of context-free languages. Please make a note that we are going to cover only those decision properties which are decidable, means uh, operation that can be performed in finite amount of time, right? Means we will see some operations on CFL that we will prove that we can compute those operations in finite amount of time, and operations which are undecidable we will cover that in module 3, not here. Here we will focus on the properties which are decidable. So the first property which we are going to explore is testing emptiness of CFL. Please remember that when we can prove this one, that how we are going to test emptiness of CFL, that is when a language is given, whether we can test that language is empty or not. That means the emptiness of CFL means whatever the grammar will be given to us, we need to test that that grammar is generating any empty language, means it has no strings, it has nothing to generate. That can be tested or not. And I have not mentioned here, but please make a note that with the same in the same procedure, if we follow the same procedure, we can also prove that whether a language is finite or not. Means it whatever the whatever the language is generating, grammar is generating, is that finite or not. The same thing can be done with this. If we can taste emptiness, we can taste finiteness as well. Fine. So how can we begin with the process? Say here we are going to do what? We are going to consider how much time it takes to find all the generating symbols of a grammar G, right? So whatever the grammar is generating, whatever the symbols the grammar is generating, if we can find that how much time it is going to consume, and if it is finite, then we will say that okay, this is decidable. This can be decided that in this amount of time, this is the complexity of this algorithm, right? So we can find out the complexity of the algorithm. So if we begin in a more generalized way how to do this, say we are having a grammar of length n, then we know that there could be on the order of n variables, and each pass of the inductive discovery of generating variables would take order of big O of n time. We know from the perspective of algorithm, if the length of the grammar is n, so if there could be n number of variables, so to pass or to discover all those generating variables, for each variable it may consume order of n time, right? And if each variable requires order of n, there can be n variables, right? So it will take order of n square only. But we will not stop our discussion here. We will find that we are lucky enough that there is an algorithm which helps us to find out this one or complete this one in order of n time only. So this order of n square will reduced to order of n. How it will be done, we will explore that only here. Let us consider this data structure. What it is doing in the figure, you can see that it has an array and indexed by the variables. Here we are variables. We know in grammar what are the variables which can generate something. From variables we can move to another variable, or from variable we can move to terminals, or maybe the combination of two, right? So here we are having two variables, capital A and capital B, and we are maintaining an array which is telling us that whether a particular variable is generating or not. Generating means we know the production rules associated to those variables can generate something, right? So here you can see one question mark is associated with A, and ES is written in respect to B. What is means that we do not know whether A is generating or not. What means that the variable A in the grammar will be helpful to us, means will it help us with any production rules, will it generate any other terminals, or will it generate any other variables, that is not known to us. And B is generating, right? So from B we can move somewhere. So here we will begin our discussion with B only. So in the figure, the array suggests that we have discovered B is generating, but we do not know whether A is not generating or whether A is generating. It is not known to us at all. Fine. Now at the end of the algorithm, each question mark will become no, since any variable not discovered by the algorithm to be generating in fact is not generating, right? So if we can if we are left out with question mark, means if we have it is a means very easy to understand, right? So at the end of the day, if we find out we have not got anything, any productive thing from any of the variable, that means that variable is not generating at all, right? So whatever the variables which we can replace with some other terminals or variables, that is generating only. So after the end of the algorithm, if any of the variables in my array left with a question mark, that means it is straightforward no, it is not generating anything. So we can come to the conclusion like this. Now let us see. The productions are pre-processed by setting up several kinds of useful links. First, for each variable there is a chain of all the positions in which that variable appears. For instance, the chain for variable B is suggested by the solid lines. Just look at this. From this generating array, from the first array, B is pointing directly to that chain where B is there. Do not concentrate on other variables. Here B is there, and directly see another solid line moves to B. Another solid line comes from the upper array and to the lower portion, and it is generating B. And you will be something surprised at what is that list of variables and terminals, capital B, small c, capital D, capital B. What are those things? That is nothing. Just say we are having one production rule. From A we can move to capital B, small c, capital D, capital B. We have just kept A there. I am not saying that A is generating all this thing. At the end of the day, we will find out whether A is generating anything or not. That is not yet done. But you just see from where I can get A, from where I can get B. So that are been marked with the solid lines in the figure. So you can find out there are total 3 solid lines, right? Now for each production there is a count of the number of positions holding variables whose ability to generate a terminal string has not yet been taken into account. The dashed line suggests link from the productions to their counts, right? So just see that from where we can get this generating functions or generating variables that had been marked to the count variable with the dashed line, right? It is also depicted in the figure. The count shown in the figure suggests that we have not yet taken any of the variables into account, even though we have just established that B is generating. So we have generated B. You can see that B are there in the 3 places, 1, 2, 3. We have marked it with the solid lines. That's why count has become 3. Right, and we have not yet explored B. That's why we are not decrementing the count variable. In the next slide we will see when it will get decremented. Fine. Now suppose that we have discovered that B is generating. Fine. We go down the list of positions of the bodies holding B. For each such position we decrement the count for that production by B. Say from the first B we have moved to the second B. So we have already discovered one B and 2 more left, right? So in this fashion count will get decremented by 1 each time, right? Now there is now one fewer position we need to find generating in order to conclude that the variable at the head is also generating. So here just see a variable at the head means here in the first one which variable is at the head. From A we moved to B, then another capital B, right? In the second one we from capital C we have got B. So at the head, in the first case A is present, and at the same in the second case C is present. So we have discovered these two as well. Fine. Now, if a count reaches 0, then we know the head variable is generating, right? A link suggested by the dotted lines gets us to the variable, and we may put that variable on a queue of generating variables whose consequences need to be explored. Right here we are not given we are not maintaining any queue, or we have not shown any queue in means we have not shown here, but the thing or the algorithm works like this. If we find out any variable as a generating variable, say in for our case, if you consider the first one, that is we are getting b from the original array, we are moving to the first b, okay, then to the second b, and then to the third b. But when we are in and each time we have incremented our count variable, and it has now come to 3, okay. Now if we keep on generating, or if we keep on visiting each b every time, we will keep on decrementing it. But from where we are getting that b? If we backtrack it, you see we will move to a in the first case, and we will move to c in the second case. So we will also put a and c in the queue as well, because both a and c are also generating. So that queue will maintain which variables are generating and which are not, right? Now let us summarize what this is doing, why it is saying that it is taking order of n time. What are the important points we need to keep in our mind? That since there are at most n variables in the grammar of size n, creation and initialization of the array takes order of n time. We know if there are total n variables, creation of array or initialization of array, everything is a matter of linear function only, that is order of n, right? Now there are at most n productions and their total length is at most n. So initialization of the links and count suggested in the figure can also be done in order of n time. The same thing, right? So if there are, if we restrict the variable to n only, there can be maximum n variables and maximum say n production rules. So everything can be done in order of n time only. Now when we discover a production has count 0, that is all the positions are we have got it's generating and all, the work can be put into two categories. So what are the two categories? Work done for that production. So the production, we are selecting our production. So in this case, how it will be done? So discovering the count is 0, finding which variable, say a is at the head. So we have seen that when the count is reaching 0, we are finding out the head of that production, means the root of that production, from where we have got it, the parent of that production, right? So say in the first case it was a, right? The checking whether it is already known to the generating means whether a is already in the queue or not. There may be, say in the here nothing will be in the queue at the beginning, because whenever we have tracked b, fine, my count got incremented, and after that after visiting each and every b, when my count got get decremented to 0, we are now finding out where is the head of this production, fine. So by backtracking we got to know, oh, this is a, fine. Now we will check what? We will check whether a is already present in the generating queue. I told you already, it has not been shown in the diagram, but we are maintaining one data structure where, that is queue, where we are keeping those variables which are considered to be generating. So if it is there in the queue, done, but if it is not there in the queue, we have to put it in the queue. So how many variables we are considering? Total n maximum. So that inserting those variables into the queue will consume what? Order of n time only, right? So that can also be done in order of n time. Now work done when visiting the positions of the production bodies that have the head variable a. This work is proportional to the number of positions with a, right? Therefore the aggregated amount of work done processing all generating symbols is proportional to the sum of the length of the production bodies, and that is also order of n. The same thing when we are finding out the positions of the production bodies and from the variable a, so that tracking will also be done in order of n time. So you can see each and every operation here can be done in order of n time. So we can conclude this algorithm is successful enough to complete in order of n time. So if you are going to test, say, means uh, you are given with one grammar, and you need to check uh, whether this grammar is generating any terminal symbols or not. If it is not generating any terminal symbols, we can say that okay, this is empty, this grammar is empty, it will not be able to generate any string. Say we are you are given with any string and you have to check, okay, that will become to membership function. I am not talking of that. Say we are given any string, and means that can be computed in finite amount of time or not, means whatever the length of the string is. So that can also be computed in order of n time, that can be the maximum length of the grammar or maximum number of production rules. So both of the thing, that is testing emptiness of CFL or testing finiteness of CFL, can be computed in order of n time. This is proved. Now we will see one more thing, and for testing this membership of CFL there are various ways, various available algorithms are there, but still we will move to one special algorithm called CYK algorithm in the one in this lecture, and we will see that that is the most successful algorithm till now for testing membership of CFL. Okay, so how we are going to test the membership of CFL? Say we are given a string W and we have to decide whether it's a context-free language or not. So we know how to test whether it is a context-free language or not. We have seen many examples, but whether our approach is efficient enough, in whatever the way we have seen so far, we have developed parse tree, we have used Chomsky normal form, and everything we have used to test for membership, or whether that language is context-free language or not, right? Whether that string is can be generated by this context-free grammar or not. But if you remember this fine, so this Chomsky normal form, if we are given a string W of length n, so we know that using Chomsky normal form we can convert that parse tree to a binary tree, and there can be exactly 2n minus 1 nodes available, right? So this is a way, but we will see more efficient way. Now here we will focus on a dynamic programming approach, and that is called table filling algorithm or tabulation, and in more precise way you can say that a CYK algorithm, and it will start with a CNF grammar. Obviously we have to convert the grammar in CNF, Chomsky normal form. We know how to compute Chomsky normal form of a grammar, and we will prove that this can be done in order of n cube time, but that proof is left with your study material. You can see the proof is there, and total formal algorithm is also there. We will see one example here to test how this CYK algorithm works. First we will just see a brief overview of this algorithm, then we will directly move to the example. Please do not forget to consult that the proof of the algorithm and the formal algorithm from the study material. Fine. Okay, so you can see here we are considering a string of length 5 in our table. See, it is being marked with A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. Okay, so we will consider the string as W and say it is a set of 5 terminals, that is A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. Fine. Now you can see there are various entries in the table marked with X, X11, X22, X33. How to fill all these things, that has been written in more formal way here, but instead of discussing all these things, we will see in our example how we have filled it. Fine. So before directly moving to the example, just remember this one. We are moving in this way. We will start from the bottommost row, right? So first we have written all the strings which we will test whether that string is CFL or not. So that is under the line, that is A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. Okay, now this first X11, then X22, X33 are, we will consider a single length, means we will consider A1, that is string of length 1. We will consider A2, string of length 1. We will consider A3, string of length 1. In this fashion, the first bottommost row will be filled up. Then in the next upper row we will consider string of length 2, that is a1 a2 a2 a3 a3 a4. So how we are writing x11 x22 x33, we will see in the example that whatever the production rules will be given by the grammar, we will try to use those production rules to satisfy this one. Means which production rules can generate the string a1, which production rule can generate, not production rule, which from which variable we can generate a1, from which variable we can generate a2, and for the second row from the bottom, which variable or combination of which variables can generate a1 a2, right, that will be a12. So how to do that we will see in the example. So now if we proceed in this manner, so any one entry in the table, say there are n variables, so or n is the size of the string, right, length of the string. So it for each entry it will consume order of n time, and you can see that there are total n into n plus 1 by 2 entries in the table. So why this is coming? Because with each string or with each part of string we are going to compare the rest other parts, right? So and with itself we will also do, so it will come to n into n plus 1, and for say a1 a2, the meaning of a1 a2 and the meaning of a2 a1 will be same. That's why we will divide it by 2. It's, I'm not going to explain this because it's very easy to understand. With n variables, how many relationships we can establish, that is n into n plus 1 by 2. So for each row, if it is order of n and total there are n into n plus 1 by 2 entries, so you can see there will be it will consume order of n cube time, right? So here this algorithm will take order of n cube time. So using this algorithm we can test the membership function or membership of any string into CFL, and that can be computed in order of n cube time. And for formal proof and formal algorithm, please consult the corresponding study materials. I will be sharing with this lecture only with you, and let us move to the example. I think it will be clearer. Okay, so we are given what CNF grammar. You can see it is in CNF because it is either whether a variable is generating two variables or a terminal. Okay, it is in the form of CNF, so you do not need to worry more. Now we are going to check for a very small string BAA, whether this string belongs to this grammar or not, whether this grammar is able to generate this string or not, right? So just see in the figure, we have written BAA in the bottommost line. Now we will consider for the first row, starting from the bottom within the table, we are going to consider what? We are going to consider length 1 string, right? From the first row, so we will use the basis. Just see and keep the grammar in your mind. If you can see that which variables are generating B. Just look into the grammar, you will be able to see only capital B is generating small b. So we are writing capital B first. Okay, then we will see which variables are generating small a. So if you consult the grammar, you can see it is capital A and capital C. So capital A comma capital C. So in this fashion other blocks has been filled up. Now move to the next one, right? That is the second row from the bottom within the table. Okay. So here we will see what this one means. The first one means, if you remember the original table, the second row begins with x12, then x23, then x34, then x45. Okay, so we will begin with the first one. How we will generate x12? So we have to break it off, right? So in how many ways we can move to x12? First we have to explore x11, then we have to explore x22, then only we can generate x12, right? And that string is what? String of length 2 is what? x11, below x11 which terminal is present, B, and below x22 which one is present, A. So the string we have to generate here is small b followed by small a, right? So how we are going to generate it? Just see, we have generated capital B for x11, you can see in the first bottommost row, and A is capital A followed by capital C, or these two variables for x22. So if we have to combine these two, so this can be either capital B A or capital B capital C, just combining this x1 and x22. This is capital B A and capital B C. So we have to find out from where we can generate either capital B A or capital B C or both. So if you consult the grammar, you will see S can generate capital BC and A can generate capital BA. So two variables will be here, that is capital S, capital A. For the next one, which one we are going to follow? We will consider x22 and x23, because this one is x23. So x23 can be partitioned into x22 followed by x23. So that will be AC and AC. So you have to again consider everything, and you will see which variable is generating this one. So you can complete the second row in this manner. So without concentrating on second row anymore, we will move to the more complex one, that is third row from the bottom. Okay, so if we consider the third row from the bottom, so you can see here the first element is x13, then x24, and then x35. So here I will consider directly x24, because before that you can find out it is not generating any, means it cannot, that string cannot be generated, that is BAA string cannot be generated in any go, fine. So here we are considering x24, right? So if you consider x24, you see just a line of string, that is where we have written the string, that is small b a small b a. So there x24 means we will start with 2 and end up at 4, that is a b, right? So we have to generate small a small b. Fine. So in how many ways we can generate 24? Either we can generate x22 then x34, or else we can generate x23 and x44, right? So let us combine these two. So x22 x34 union x23 x44 will be this one. You can just start off from the bottommost row, it is AC, then SC and BB. So after combining all this thing, the set which we are generating is AS, AC, CS, CC, BB, right? So we will find out which variables are capable of generating any one of the thing, or two or more, whatever. So you will find out only B is capable of doing all this thing, right? So same will be in case of the fourth row from the bottom and fifth row from the bottom. So in this fashion you can keep on iterating, right, for each and every row. So you can see that if we can find out, okay, this BA can be done using three variables, that is capital S, capital A, capital C, and following this approach we can find out this, we can generate this string. So it can be done in a finite amount of time, or that is order of n cube, right? So n may be the size of the string, so in this case the size of the string is 5, so we have to substitute 5 in place of n. So this can be computed in finite amount of time, right? So these two algorithms we have explored, and along with the emptiness we have already also tested the finiteness, and here we have tested the membership. So all these are decision properties, and for this CYK algorithm proof that it can be done in order of n cube time, and its formal algorithm we will find it in the study material. Okay, this much for this module 2, and we will end up with module 2 here. from the next class we will start with module 3, that is a part of Turing machine. It's a more powerful machine, and you will be surprised to know that what a computer can do. Turing has already proved that everything can be done using a Turing machine only. So we will move to a much more stronger version of this, which is capable of accepting more strings, which is capable of doing much more functions, and it is very useful part. So we'll end up with module 2 here, and we'll move to module 3 from the next class. Thank you.